Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
You know that moment when someone shows you exactly who they are, and you finally have the clarity to believe them? When your wife of 4 years sets her wedding ring on the kitchen counter like it's spare change and tells you she needs space to figure things out? That happened to me on a Tuesday morning in March. By Wednesday evening, she had more space than she'd ever dreamed of. I was standing at our kitchen island, reviewing quarterly reports before heading to the office, when Sarah walked in with that look. The one I'd been seeing more frequently over the past few months. Distant, calculating, like she was measuring something I couldn't see. She set the ring down like she was placing a coffee cup on the counter. No ceremony, no drama, just the soft clink of gold against granite. "I need space," she said, not looking at me. "I need to figure out who I am outside of this marriage." I stared at the ring, still warm from her finger. For years of promises sitting there like loose change. The diamond caught the morning light streaming through our bay windows, the same windows she'd insisted we needed when we bought this house. "Natural light makes everything feel more alive," she'd said then. "What kind of space?" I asked, setting down my coffee. "Just space. Time to think. Time to explore who I could be while married to me." She finally looked up, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Not guilt, not sadness. Entitlement. "We don't have to make any big decisions right now. I just need room to breathe, to see what else is out there." That phrase hit me like a physical blow. What else is out there? "It's not what you think," she said quickly. "I'm not talking about other men specifically. I'm talking about experiences. About being young and free and not tied down to someone else's routine." "Someone else's routine? You mean our routine? The life we built together?" She started pacing, hands gesturing as she warmed to her theme. "I got married when I was 27, Marcus. I went straight from college to a serious relationship to marriage. I never got to experience being single as an adult. I never got to date around or explore or just be free." I watched her carefully. This speech felt rehearsed. "And you want to experience that now?" "I want to know what I missed. I want to know if what we have is what I actually want or if it's just what I settled for because it was safe." Safe. I repeated the word like it was foreign. 4 years of marriage and you think what we have is just safe. Don't put words in my mouth. I love you. I do. But I need to understand if I love you because you're the right person for me or because you're the only person I've ever really known. I looked at the ring again, sitting there between us like evidence in a trial. "So your plan is what exactly? To separate while you date other men and see if the grass is greener?" "It's not about other men, isn't it?" I interrupted. "Because when someone says they want to explore what else is out there and be free, they're usually not talking about taking pottery classes." Her face flushed. "Maybe some of it is about that. Maybe I do want to know what it's like to be desired by someone who doesn't take me for granted." "I take you for granted. You come home every day expecting dinner. You assume I'll be here every evening watching TV with you. You never question whether I might want something different because you're comfortable with how things are." I set my mug down carefully. I come home to my wife, who I thought wanted to share dinner and evenings with me. Was I wrong about that? "No, but—" She stopped, frustration flashing across her face. "You don't understand. You're a man. You gotta have your fun in college. You dated around. You know what you're choosing when you choose me. And you don't. How can I? You're the only serious relationship I've ever had." I studied her face, looking for the woman I'd married. She was still beautiful, still had that smile that had first caught my attention at Tom's birthday party 5 years ago. But something fundamental had shifted. "What exactly are you asking me to do, Sarah?" "I'm asking you to give me time. 6 months, maybe a year. Time to figure out who I am and what I want. While you're married to me. While we're separated. While I have space to think and explore. And where do I fit into this exploration period?" She looked away. "You wait. You give me the space I need to figure this out. I wait while you date other men. I explore my options while you figure out whether you want to wait for me." There it was. The honest version. She wanted me to financially and emotionally support her while she shopped around for something better. If she found it, I was discarded. If she didn't, she'd graciously return to her fallback plan. "And if you decide you like what you find out there, then we'll know we weren't meant to be together. And if you decide you don't, then we'll know what we have is real and chosen, not just convenient." I picked up the ring and turned it over in my palm. It was a beautiful piece, 2 carats, excellent clarity, set in platinum. I'd saved for 8 months to buy it. Had it custom designed. She'd cried when I proposed. Said it was the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. How long have you been thinking about this? A few months. Since your promotion? She nodded. The new job opened my eyes to different possibilities. I started meeting new people, seeing different ways of living. Different ways of living. Or different men. Both, she admitted. There's a whole world out there, Marcus. People who travel on weekends instead of doing yard work. People who go out on weeknights instead of watching Netflix. People who take risks instead of saving every penny for some theoretical future. I almost laughed. People who can afford to travel on weekends because their spouses handle the mortgage and utilities. It's not about money, isn't it? Because the lifestyle you're describing costs money. Money that comes from someone staying home doing yard work and saving for the theoretical future. She crossed her arms. You're being deliberately obtuse. This is about freedom. About not feeling tied down to someone else's dreams and goals. Someone else's dreams. We bought this house together. We planned this life together. You planned this life. I went along with it because I didn't know there were other options. I set the ring back down on the counter. So now you want to explore those options. I want to explore what's possible when I'm not constrained by someone else's expectations. While I pay the mortgage on the house you don't want to be tied down to. She blinked. What do you mean? I mean, if you want space to figure out who you are outside of marriage, you get to experience what it's like to be truly independent. No shared resources. No safety net. Just you, figuring it all out on your own. That's not what I'm asking for. No, you're asking for something much more convenient. You want the freedom of being single with the financial security of being married. You want to shop around while I hold your place in line. That's a horrible way to put it. Is it inaccurate? She was quiet for a long moment. I need this, Marcus. I need to know what I'm choosing. Then you'll get to know? Completely. I picked up my briefcase and coffee. I'll be late tonight. I have some things to take care of. What kind of things? I looked at her one last time. The kind of things independent people handle themselves. The drive to work was the clearest my head had been in months. For the first time, I understood what I was dealing with. This wasn't about Sarah feeling trapped or unappreciated. This was about entitlement. She wanted to have her cake and eat it too, and she expected me to pay for the privilege of being her backup plan. I called Tom Rodriguez, my colleague and financial advisor, from the car. Marcus, what's up? You sound different. I need to discuss asset protection strategies. How quickly can we restructure some accounts? That depends on what you're trying to protect them from. Are we talking about creditors, lawsuits, or divorce? The line was quiet for a moment. I see. How immediate is this situation? Very. Can you meet for lunch? Absolutely. 1 o'clock at O'Malley's. Next, I called David Park, my attorney and college roommate. David Chin Law Offices. David, it's Marcus. I need to discuss something sensitive. Can you clear some time today? Legal sensitive or friend sensitive? Both. Sarah wants a separation so she can explore her options. The old, I need space to find myself routine. How generous of her to give you the opportunity to finance her self-discovery. Exactly. What are my options? More than you think, probably. Can you come in at 4? I'll be there. The morning crawled by. I handled my client calls mechanically, my mind focused on the conversation with Sarah. Every word she'd said revealed more calculation than I'd initially realized. The timing, just after her promotion when she'd started meeting new people. The specific request for space rather than divorce, preserving her access to our shared resources while she explored her options. The entitled assumption that I'd simply wait while she figured out whether she could do better. At lunch, Tom spread out financial documents across our table. Here's what you're looking at, he said. Joint checking, joint savings, joint investment accounts. Your name is on everything, but so is hers. If she wants to explore her independence, she currently has access to all of it. How do I change that? Depends on how far you want to go. You can open new accounts in your name only and redirect your direct deposits. You can remove her as a beneficiary on your retirement accounts. You can cancel joint credit cards. I studied the numbers. In 4 years of marriage, I'd been the primary earner. Sarah's salary from her marketing job was decent, but my investment advisor income was nearly double hers. Our lifestyle was built on my earnings. What about the house? Both names on the deed, but you provided the down payment and you've been making the mortgage payments. In a separation, you'd have a strong argument for primary residence rights, especially if she's the one requesting the separation to pursue other relationships. And if she contests it, then you have documentation of her abandoning the marital home to explore other options. Courts don't look favorably on spouses who want to have their cake and eat it too. I made my decision. Set up new accounts. Individual checking, individual savings. Redirect my direct deposits effective immediately. What about existing joint accounts? Leave them open, but nothing new goes in. She wants independence, she gets it completely. At 4 o'clock, I sat across from David in his office, watching him review the timeline I'd written out. She placed the ring on the counter and requested a separation to explore other relationships, he read aloud. Very thoughtful of her to be so explicit about her intentions. What's my legal position? Stronger than you might think. She's initiating the separation. She stated her intention to pursue other relationships while married to you, and she's requesting to maintain access to marital resources while doing so. That's constructive abandonment with a side of attempted fraud. Fraud. She wants to maintain the financial benefits of marriage while rejecting the obligations. Courts call that having your cake and eating it too, and they tend to be unsympathetic. What do I need to do? Document everything. Every conversation, every request, every attempt to maintain financial access while pursuing other relationships. And protect your assets immediately. You have every right to stop funding someone else's dating life. How quickly can this be resolved if she contests it? If she's smart and accepts reality? Weeks. If she fights it expecting you to subsidize her exploration phase? Months, but she'll lose badly. I felt a cold certainty settle over me. Set up the documentation. I'll handle the rest. The house was empty when I got home at 7. Sarah's car was gone, and there was a note on the counter next to where she'd left her ring. Gone to dinner with friends to think things through. Don't wait up. We'll talk tomorrow about practical arrangements. Practical arrangements. She was already planning how to manage her separation logistics. I walked through our house systematically, seeing it with new eyes. The furniture we'd picked out together. The photos of our vacations and holidays. The little touches she'd added that made it feel like a home rather than just a place to live. But underneath all of it was the infrastructure of our shared life. The mortgage in both our names. The utilities I paid. The insurance policies that covered us both. The shared credit cards she used for everything from groceries to clothes to dinners with friends. She wanted space to figure out who she was outside of marriage, but she'd never experienced what it actually meant to be financially independent. She'd gone from living with roommates in college to living with me. Someone else had always handled the big bills, the planning, the financial security that made her current lifestyle possible. I opened my laptop and started making lists. Bank accounts to modify, services to cancel, insurance policies to update, credit cards to close. The practical dismantling of a shared life she no longer wanted to be constrained by. By the time she came home at 11:30, I had made significant progress. "You're still up," she said, setting her purse down where her ring had been that morning. "Had some things to take care of." She looked tired but somehow lighter, like she'd already started enjoying her newfound freedom. "How was your day?" "Productive." "How was dinner with friends?" "Good." "Enlightening." It's amazing how different everything looks when you give yourself permission to really think about what you want. "I imagine it is." "Did you come to any conclusions?" She sat down across from me at the kitchen table. "I think this separation is exactly what I need. Time to explore who I am without constantly thinking about how my choices affect someone else." That sounds very freeing. It is. Jennifer thinks I should have done this years ago. Jennifer. Her sister who'd been through 3 relationships in the past 5 years, each one ending when the novelty wore off. Jennifer's always been supportive of your independence. She helped me realize that I've been living someone else's life instead of my own. Someone else's life. You mean our life. I mean a life built around your goals and your timeline and your idea of what marriage should look like. I closed my laptop. So what happens next? I'd like to move into the guest bedroom while we figure out practical arrangements. I'll start looking for my own place, maybe get a roommate to split costs. That sounds very practical. You're being sarcastic. I'm being realistic. Finding an apartment, covering deposits and utilities, buying furniture. Independence gets expensive quickly. I have a job, Marcus. I can support myself. I'm sure you can. It'll be an interesting adjustment after 4 years of shared expenses. She frowned. What do you mean? I mean, you've never actually lived independently as an adult. You've always had someone else covering the major expenses. That's not true, isn't it? You lived with 3 roommates in college, splitting rent 4 ways. Then you moved in with me 6 months after we started dating. When have you ever handled a full mortgage payment, insurance, utilities, and food costs entirely on your own? I contribute to our household expenses. You contribute about 30%. I cover the mortgage, insurance, property taxes, utilities, car payments, and most of the groceries. Your salary covers your personal expenses and some shared entertainment. She was quiet, and I could see her doing mental math. The point is, I continued, true independence will be a significant change from your current lifestyle. But you'll get to experience exactly what you're looking for, complete freedom from being tied down to someone else's financial planning. You're trying to scare me. I'm trying to help you understand what you're choosing. Independence means independence from all the things that have been making your current lifestyle possible. She stood up abruptly. I'm going to bed. We can discuss practical details tomorrow. Actually, we can discuss them now. She turned back, something in my tone catching her attention. I spent today taking care of some of those practical arrangements you mentioned. What kind of arrangements? The kind that give you the complete independence you're looking for. Starting tomorrow, my direct deposit goes into accounts with only my name on them. Her face went white. What does that mean? It means exactly what you asked for. Space. Independence. Freedom from being tied down to someone else's resources. You can't just cut off my access to our money. I'm not cutting off your access to your money. You have your salary, your personal savings, your share of our joint accounts as they currently stand. What you no longer have access to is my salary, which will be supporting my independent lifestyle. You can't do that. I can and I did. Single people manage their own finances. Independent people support themselves. I'm still your wife, who set her wedding ring on the counter this morning and requested a separation to explore other relationships. That's not what I meant, and you know it. Then perhaps you should have been clearer about what you wanted. She sat back down, and I could see panic replacing the confidence she'd had moments before. I meant space within our marriage. Trial separation while we work things out. No, you meant having your cake and eating it too. You wanted the freedom of being single with the financial security of being married. You wanted to shop around while I held your place in line and paid for the privilege. That's a horrible way to put it. Is it inaccurate? She was quiet for a long moment, staring at the table. I need time to process this, she finally said. Take all the time you need. You have complete independence to figure things out. She went upstairs without another word. I heard the guest bedroom door close, then the sound of her making phone calls. Probably to Jennifer, possibly to other friends, explaining this unexpected complication in her liberation plans. I finished my work on the laptop, then went to bed in our master bedroom. For the first time in months, I had the entire bed to myself. No one complaining about the temperature or stealing covers or asking me to move over. It was surprisingly comfortable. Wednesday morning, she was already gone when I woke up. There was another note on the counter. Staying at Jennifer's for a few days while I figure things out. This is not over. I made coffee and read the note again. The tone had shifted from yesterday's confident independence to something more threatening. She was beginning to understand the practical implications of her request. My phone rang while I was getting ready for work. Marcus. Her voice was strained. My card was declined at Starbucks. Which card? The Visa. Our Visa. I canceled our joint credit cards yesterday. Independent people have their own credit. You canceled our cards? I canceled the joint accounts you no longer wanted to be tied down to. You should apply for your own cards based on your individual income and credit history. That could take weeks. That's how independence works. It takes time to establish your own financial systems. What am I supposed to do in the meantime? Use your individual checking account and debit card. I don't have enough in my individual account to cover everything. Then you'll need to adjust your spending to match your individual income. That's called budgeting. The line was quiet for almost a minute. You're punishing me for being honest about what I need. I'm giving you exactly what you asked for. Complete space to figure out who you are outside of marriage. I need some of my things from the house. Of course, you can come by when I'm at work and collect your personal belongings. I need to get some of our shared things too. Kitchen stuff, Furniture. The shared things stay with the shared house until we formally divide assets in the separation agreement. What's separation agreement? The legal document that formalizes the separation you requested. My attorney is drafting it now. Another long silence. I want to talk about this face to face. We can do that. My attorney recommends all communication go through legal counsel to avoid misunderstandings. I don't need an attorney. We can work this out ourselves. Actually, you probably should get an attorney. Separation agreements involve complex financial and legal considerations. I can't afford an attorney right now. That's one of the challenges of independence. You'll need to budget for professional services along with everything else. She hung up without saying goodbye. By Thursday, the reality of her situation had apparently sunk in. She called me at work. Marcus, we need to talk. Really talk. I'm listening. I think I made a mistake. I think I was confused about what I really wanted. What do you think you really wanted? I wanted to feel appreciated. I wanted you to realize what you could lose. I wanted you to fight for me. By threatening to leave me for other men. By making you see that I had other options, that you shouldn't take me for granted. And now I realize that what we had was good. That I was letting Jennifer and some of my new coworkers fill my head with unrealistic expectations. Unrealistic expectations about what? About marriage. About what I should expect from a husband. About what I was missing by being committed to one person. I leaned back in my office chair. What changed your mind? Spending 2 days trying to figure out how to afford rent and groceries and car insurance on my own. Realizing that the freedom I thought I wanted comes with responsibilities I didn't think about. And realizing that the men I thought I wanted to explore things with were only interested in someone who was fun and available, not someone with actual needs or problems. I see. I want to come home, Marcus. I want to put my ring back on and forget this whole stupid mistake. I was quiet for a moment, looking out my office window at the city below. People rushing around, pursuing their individual goals and dreams and complications. I don't think that's possible. Why not? I learned my lesson. I know what I want now. What you learned is that independence is harder than you expected. That's not the same as knowing what you want. I want my husband back. I want my marriage back. You want your safety net back. That's not fair, isn't it? You didn't miss me, Sarah. You missed the financial security I provided. You missed the comfortable lifestyle you could afford when someone else was handling the major expenses. That's not true. Then why did it take financial pressure to make you realize what we had was good? If you missed me, if you missed our relationship, you would have realized that immediately. Instead, you spent 2 days enjoying your freedom until you tried to buy coffee with a canceled credit card. She was crying now. I made a mistake. People make mistakes. Some mistakes have permanent consequences. So that's it. 4 years of marriage over because I got confused about what I wanted. 4 years of marriage over because you decided our life together was something you settled for. Because you thought I was a convenient placeholder while you figured out if you could do better. I never said that. You said you needed to know if what we had was what you actually wanted or just what you settled for because it was safe. You said you wanted to explore what else was out there. Those aren't the words of someone who values what she has. I was scared. I was feeling trapped, and I didn't know how to talk to you about it. So you decided to threaten our marriage instead of having a conversation. I thought if you realized you could lose me, you'd appreciate me more. I did realize I could lose you. I also realized I was married to someone who thought love was a game where you threatened to leave to get what you want. The crying got harder. Please, Marcus. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can rebuild. Rebuild what? Trust? You showed me that when things get difficult, you look for an exit strategy. You showed me that you think marriage is conditional on your moment-to-moment happiness. That's not who I am. It's who you were when it mattered. The line went quiet except for her crying. What happens now? She finally asked. Now you get exactly what you asked for. Complete independence to figure out who you are and what you want. And what about us? There is no us. You ended us when you set your ring on the counter. She hung up, and I sat in my office for a long time thinking about the conversation. Part of me felt sorry for her. She'd made a stupid mistake based on unrealistic expectations, and now she was paying a steep price for it. But underneath the sympathy was something harder. She hadn't missed me. She'd missed the lifestyle I made possible. She hadn't realized she loved me. She'd realized she couldn't afford the independence she thought she wanted. And that told me everything I needed to know about what our marriage had really meant to her. Friday afternoon, David called with news. She hired an attorney, Rebecca Morrison. Good lawyer, but she's got a weak case. What's her strategy? They're going to argue that you're being financially vindictive and that one conversation about needing space doesn't constitute abandonment. What's our response? That she explicitly requested separation to pursue other relationships and expected you to finance her exploration. We have her own words documenting her intentions. How long will this take? Depends on how reasonable she wants to be. Morrison's going to present a settlement offer next week. If it's realistic, we can wrap this up quickly. If she's expecting alimony and half of everything, we'll go to court. And if we go to court, she loses. Badly. She initiated the separation, stated her intention to pursue other relationships, and requested ongoing financial support while doing so. No judge is going to reward that behavior. Saturday morning, I was working in the yard when she pulled into the driveway. She looked composed, like she'd spent time preparing for this conversation. "Can we talk?" she asked. Of course. We sat on the back deck where we'd spent hundreds of evenings together over the years. She looked around at the garden she'd planted, the furniture we'd picked out together. "I miss this," she said quietly. "I'm sure you do. I miss you. Do you? Or do you miss the lifestyle?" She was quiet for a moment. "Both, I guess. Is that wrong?" "It's honest. I've been thinking about what you said. About me not missing you, just missing the security. And you're probably right. When I was at Jennifer's, trying to figure out how to afford my own place, I wasn't thinking about missing our conversations or our quiet evenings together. I was panicking about money." I nodded. At least she was being truthful now. "But that doesn't mean I don't love you, doesn't it? Because love without respect isn't really love. It's convenience. I do respect you. You respected what I could provide. You didn't respect the relationship enough to have a conversation before threatening to end it." She pulled her knees up to her chest, looking young and lost. "I don't know how to fix this." "You can't fix it. Some things, once broken, can't be put back together the same way. So that's it. We're really over?" "We were over the moment you decided I was something you settled for instead of something you chose. I never said I settled for you. You said you needed to know if what we had was what you actually wanted or just what you settled for because it was safe. Same thing." She was crying again, but quietly this time. "I'm sorry, Marcus. I'm really, really sorry. I know you are. I'm sorry too." "For what?" "For not seeing sooner that we wanted different things. For thinking you valued our life together as much as I did. I did value it. Not enough to protect it when you got bored." We sat in silence for a while, both of us looking at the garden she'd planted in our second year of marriage. It was thriving now, mature and established. "Can I ask you something?" she said finally. "Sure. If I had approached this differently, if I had just talked to you about feeling unappreciated instead of asking for space, do you think we could have worked it out?" I considered the question carefully. "Maybe. If you'd said you were feeling taken for granted and wanted more excitement in our relationship, I would have listened. We could have worked on that together. But you didn't want to work on our relationship. You wanted to see if you could find something better while keeping me as a backup plan. That's not a relationship problem. That's a character problem." "A character problem. You're someone who thinks love is conditional on constant entertainment. You're someone who threatens the most important relationship in her life to get attention. Those aren't things we could have fixed with better communication." She nodded slowly. "You're right. I am that person. I don't want to be, but I am." "Then maybe this separation will give you time to figure out how to be someone different." "What if I do? What if I become someone who values commitment and doesn't take good things for granted? Would you consider giving us another chance then?" I looked at her, still beautiful, still someone I had loved deeply. "No." "Why not?" "Because I would never be able to trust that you wouldn't get bored again in a few years and decide you needed to explore your options. Because I've learned something about myself too." "What's that?" "I'm someone who needs a partner who chooses me every day, not someone who stays with me until something better comes along." She wiped her eyes. "I understand." "Do you?" "I think so. I think I understand that some mistakes cost more than you expect them to." "Yeah, they do." She stood up to leave, then turned back. "For what it's worth, I think you're handling this exactly right. I think you're being stronger than I ever could be." I'm being honest about what I can and can't accept. I know. That's what makes it right. She left, and I sat on the deck for a long time thinking about the conversation. She was right about one thing. Some mistakes cost more than you expect them to. But she was wrong about something too. I wasn't being strong. I was being self-protective. There's a difference. 2 weeks later, David called with the settlement offer. They want $50,000 for a fresh start fund and half the house value. I almost laughed. Fresh start fund. Apparently, she needs money to establish her independent lifestyle. What did you tell them? I told them she could establish her independent lifestyle with her own salary, like every other independent person in America. And the house. She contributed nothing to the down payment and made no mortgage payments. She has no equity claim. What's our counteroffer? She gets her personal belongings, her car, and whatever was in her individual accounts before the separation. That's it. They'll reject that. Of course they will. Then we go to court, and she gets less. 3 weeks later, we were in court. Sarah looked nervous sitting next to her attorney, glancing at me occasionally like she couldn't believe we'd ended up here. The judge listened to both sides present their cases. Morrison argued that Sarah had contributed to the household and deserved consideration for the lifestyle she'd built with me. David presented the timeline of her requests for space to explore other relationships and her expectation that I would financially support her while she did so. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, the judge said to Sarah. You requested a separation from your husband so that you could, and I quote, explore what else is out there, and you expected him to continue paying for your living expenses while you did so. I was confused, Your Honor. I was having doubts about our marriage, and I thought some space would help me figure things out. Space to date other men while your husband paid your bills. It wasn't like that. What was it like? Sarah looked at her attorney, who nodded encouragingly. I was feeling unappreciated and trapped. I thought if my husband realized he could lose me, he would value me more. So you threatened to leave him unless he provided better appreciation? I was trying to save our marriage. By requesting separation to explore other relationships, I was trying to make him fight for me. The judge looked at David. And your client's response was to provide exactly the independence she requested? Yes, Your Honor. She asked for space to figure out who she was outside of marriage. He provided complete independence, including financial independence. And she found this independence less appealing than expected, considerably less appealing. The judge turned back to Sarah. Mrs. Chun, do you understand that marriage is a legal contract, not a negotiating tactic? Yes, Your Honor. Do you understand that threatening to dissolve that contract to gain leverage over your spouse is manipulative behavior? Sarah's face was red. Yes, Your Honor. And do you understand that when you voluntarily separate from your spouse to pursue other relationships, you forfeit your claim to the financial benefits of the marriage you're rejecting? I understand now. The judge ruled quickly. Sarah got her personal belongings, her car, and the balance in her individual accounts. Everything else stayed with me. No alimony, no support payments, no fresh start fund. Outside the courthouse, she tried one last time. I know you'll never forgive me, she said. But I want you to know that I learned something important from all this. What's that? I learned the difference between wanting to be appreciated and being willing to destroy everything to get attention.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.